Okay, yes. So we are now live and attendees have also started joining. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sakshi and I will be the host and moderator for this session today. Today, we are back with yet another informative panel discussion on student experience beyond academics. Today, we have with us on the panel Ms. Tanushri Bhattacharya, International Student Advisor, Asia and Europe, University of British Columbia, Mr. Truman, International Recruitment Officer, India and South Asia, Brock University, Mr. Pranav Rathi, Senior Advisor, Fanshawe College, Mr. Hitanshu Bharadwaj, Business Development Manager, Toronto School of Management and Canadian College of Technology and Business, Mr. Neeraj Malik, International Recruitment Manager, India, College National of Science and Technology, and last but not the least, Ms. Prerna Tripathi, International Recruitment Officer, McMaster University. So before moving on, I would like to brief you on the flow of the event. For the initial 45 minutes, we will be addressing the predetermined questions to our panelists, followed by 15 minutes of live Q&A questions from the attendees. So to begin with, I would like to ask you, Tanushri, how would you describe Canada as a student destination? And what's generally the first impression people, especially international students, have about it?
Hi, thank you, Sakshi, and good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Hope you're doing well and staying safe. Um, when I started with UBC, Sakshi, Canada was looked as an alternate to the US. So if students couldn't get into US, would look at Canada. But I think over a period of time, Canada standalone have stood out as a key study destination because Canada definitely looks at academics and USA does look at SATs and all other scores to get entry. However, I think for students at the seminar today, the Canadian government, 2.5% of the total GDP is spent on post-secondary education. What does that mean for international students at different university campuses? It really means that any institution that you're going to, most of us are public universities, so we are funded by taxpayers' money. There is a quality that all of us will have to maintain. So irrespective of the university that you're going to, you are going to be studying and receiving a high quality education. Canada is one of the safest countries in the world and is very high in terms of one of the most livable places, and that would mean safety, security, health services, and plenty of opportunities for students during and after the program. And also a lot of opportunities outside of academics, whether it is co-op, research, exchanges. There are so many opportunities that students can enroll in outside of just the academic degree that they are looking forward to. So I shall strongly encourage all students that if you are looking at an international degree, Canada has a wide range of options, whether it's the pathways leading to university degrees or direct institution university degrees. They must consider Canada.
Okay, thank you so much, Tanushri. Prerna, would you like to add something to what Tanushri has just mentioned, Canada being the student destination?
Yeah, thank you, Sakshi, and thank you, University Living team, for organizing this. I'm glad to be a part of it. A very good evening to everyone, and hope everyone is doing well and keeping safe. Why Canada? I think that's the very first question which comes to our mind when we have to decide about a study destination. And a couple of things which we all look at are academic ranking, safe environment, cultural life, geographical beauty, and of course the ROI. That's of utmost importance. And Canada, I believe, checks all five of them. So home to some of the finest universities offering wide variety of courses ranging from the 1 year certificate program through the career prepping 2 years and 3 years diploma programs and the full degree programs. Canada is drawing international students in all from corners of the globe. And then secondly, as I said, it's a big worry for many international students lies in the ease of adjusting to life overseas. The transition to a whole new country and culture is, no easy feat. So Canada has a very welcoming and friendly environment, and people here are warm, active, and outdoorsy. It's full of friendly locals, and many colleges hold a multicultural international student and faculty population, easing that transition. As Tanushree mentioned, that Canadian universities have been consistently breaking down classroom boundaries. Students here are thriving on real-world opportunities and experiential learning with the co-op programs, the internship opportunities, the part-time work during the studies, full-time during summers, etc. All of this. And I also believe that cherry on the cake is the Canadian government support to the international students fraternity, which for this year is plan to return to in-person classes, lifting the quarantine for vaccinated travelers, the international students allowed to complete their entire program online and still be eligible for a postgraduate work permit. So yeah, that's all I would have to say.
Yeah, very well said. You have covered most of the points. Pranav, would you like to add something to what Prerna just mentioned? Why Canada?
Yes, absolutely. Again, thank you so much for having me here. So I would just like to add one more point here, a couple of more points, that it gives you a lot of options. Of course, you've heard from the universities, then there are colleges as well. For example, Frankfurt College, like the one I'm representing today. So students who are willing to study undergrad degrees or master's degrees, there's universities, and then you have these hands-on diplomas as well. So it gives you that option as well, wherein students who are interested in one specific subject and would want to go in for a shorter duration program compared to a university, they've got colleges as well. And apart from that, of course, it gives you that hands-on experience in education, which is lacked here in Indian education system or in South Asian education system. Hands-on experience is not part of our academics, but that's the difference there in Canada, and more real life challenges that they would be thrown into while studying, so that when they get into the job or when they get into the employment world, things are much more easier for them. So these couple of points I would like to add, that why Canada as a destination for international students is very attractive.
Thank you. Thank you so much. True, my next question is to you. Any post-pandemic policy amendments for international students that you would like to highlight?
I think we've already covered that. Thank you, Sakshi. I mean, I think the biggest is that for all international students, even if you complete 100% of your program online, you're still eligible for your full post-time post-study work permit. I think that is perhaps one of the biggest highlights, and the government has been continuously supporting international students. They have made changes in terms of the vaccination policies. You really need not go for quarantine if you have the completed the vaccinations and all that. I think we've covered almost all this. I mean, at Rock, particularly, if I can say that we are ensuring that the students who are currently on campus, we're getting all of them vaccinated. And in case if a student comes from any country and hasn't vaccinated yet, we can they can do the registrations now, and then when they arrive on campus, we can get them vaccinated on a priority basis.
Yeah, so actually that was my next question. So where do they stand on the priority list for vaccination, the international students?
I think, in my opinion, I mean, I'm sure for all the universities also, this could be particularly very true in the sense that whoever is not vaccinated, they would want to get them vaccinated. I'm not really sure where, in terms of the priority, maybe should be the top three, if not anything else. I mean, I'm sure the government is looking at getting everybody vaccinated, but in all likelihood, my suggestion to all the students is if they're planning to travel, it's better not to wait to get vaccinated in Canada. I mean, they can probably get it here itself and travel. That makes life easier for everybody involved there.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Hitanshu, I would like to ask you that do you think the cost of living has or will increase post-pandemic era, and will there be any student benefits offered?
Hi, Sakshi. First of all, thank you for having me over here. So I don't believe, Sakshi, that post-pandemic, the accommodation prices or the living expenses would go up. because we would just come out of a pandemic situation, and people would be going back into their normal lives. And anyway, that people are already living very comfortably and doing all their stuff from their places. So I don't think that cost of living would go up. In terms of institutions, accommodations team can help students to find places as per their budget, as per their needs. So this is available in all institutions, and there are specific teams to help students to find accommodation as per their own budget.
Sakshi, if I may just add something.
Yeah, please go ahead.
I think I just we want to assure students in the audience that Canada has led the way in its policy response to international students during this pandemic, and I think inclusivity has been really the underlying principle. So apart from what Truman mentioned about continuing with the post-study work visa, even if you have studied online, which I think some of the other countries, there were conversations and discussions and confusion. Canada was the first country who declared it, and we led from the front, including and just continuing with that, Canada also, the government introduced the Canada Emergency Response Benefit for international students who may have lost their jobs during this pandemic. So just want to assure you and students that, if any country has a perspective, it is Canada, because for every policy decision, we have opened our borders and we have announced it. Even students during the pandemic who had a study permit weren't stopped from entering the country, were not told to do online classes, so they could travel to the country. So whatever decisions are made by the government and taken by the government or the federal authorities, students be rest assured that, student welfare is going to be central of all those decision making.
Perfect. Neeraj, would you like to add something, any pointers from your side on the similar lines?
I'm sure. Well, thank you so much, Sakshi, for having me here. And I really truly agree with what Mr. Bhardwaj said and what Tanushree also said. I would also like to assure the students that when it comes to Canada, particularly for their higher education, and especially the point of concern that we are discussing about here, that will it change? The post-pandemic, will the situation change when it comes to the affordable cost of living? So I really don't think so that it will affect much. And especially when it comes to Canada, Canada is one of the places which is actually known for its affordable education and affordable cost of living all across the world. So I really don't think so that student will find it that challenging here. Okay, so as Mr. Bhardwaj said, there are organizations, those who've been continuously helping students in finding affordable accommodations. Likewise, there are a lot of colleges, those who are like they're trying their best to help the students to help finding them good for affordable accommodations. Even in fact, like students have been continuously studying from home also. So yeah, that is it from my side when it comes to this. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Neeraj. Prerna, my next question is to you. So what were the outcomes of the hybrid or online classes, both positives and the negatives?
Okay, so this pandemic was a situation which we had never experienced before. So I believe online mode of learning was the best option for every student, where they can continue their learning and at the same time be safe. So the positives I see is the students can access their notes, the review assignments, take the quizzes, discuss questions, chat. They can study anytime with whoever they want, wearing anything they want. And second thing is what I feel is a positive is sometimes there are students who aren't comfortable asking questions or discussing anything in class. So that the internet hopefully eliminates that fear. The professor or your teacher is just a click away or an email away. As far as the disadvantages are concerned, that's a bigger disadvantage, I feel, because these students may miss the classroom fun and the campus life, which they must have planned for well in advance. There's no whispering in the back of the room. There's no wise remark from the peanut gallery. No commanding presence at the front. No after class parties, no weekend fun trips, etc., whatever. And then studying alone with only a computer as your companion, can be terrifying. So in a philosophical sort of way, I will put this as the real disadvantage to an online course is that some of them might not own up to it. They may not take responsibility for their studies and their goals sitting in the comfort of their homes. And that's a personal belief that, when it comes to online learning, it's more popular among working adults like us, because we often can't take those traditional classes and online can fit in our work and family responsibilities. But the circumstances were like that. The students were really, they had no option. So either you defer or you take online. So in that ways, it was the best possible option available to them.
Yeah, well said. Pranav, do you agree with what Prerna has just mentioned? Hybrid model, online classes, positives and negatives?
Absolutely, I agree with Prerna. So the thing here is that I just had one more point when it comes to the positive of online is that the Canadian education system already had online education for very long. It was just not open to international students. So the processes or the platform where they were teaching everything online was so robust that student doesn't lose anything academically. Academically, they are still at par, whether they would be in the classroom. So far, I've never heard a student come back to me. There have been thousands of students who have started online classes in last 1.5 years, but not even a single students have come back to me saying that academically I'm losing out. Of course, the in classroom, the Canadian experience that has been missed out. And another negative point of that is your classes would be later in the evening or late at night. So I would just add one more point here, the negative of it. But as far as the positive is concerned, academically, students have told this that they don't lose out much because the systems are in place. They were in place already because there were a lot of programs that were run online only for domestic students. It's just now been extended to international students. So the processes were always very robust. So these are the couple of points I feel that the positive and the negative related to online and blended. Blended again means that you have to be in Canada, so they have that Canadian experience. But again, not all their classes would be on the campus. It's going to be a bit of both online as well as on campus. So they still get the best of both the worlds. So major issues are only with the online students, and the issues would be not having that in classroom experience and late night. The class is a bit late.
Well said. Tanushree, I was coming to you. I also wanted, before you begin, I wanted to ask you that according to you, what protocols will be put in place to prepare for resuming of in-person classes?
Yeah, thanks, Sakshi. I also wanted to talk about the online a little bit, and then I can come back to you. I think, students have displayed extraordinary resilience this year, and a lot of credit to them, and we are inspired by their resilience. Um, when you're transitioning to institutions, there are a lot of adjustments. Of course, adjusting to a new city, new place, but also academic adjustment. Because studying for an international institution, whether a Canadian college or university, is very different from high school academics. So what better than doing it at the comfort of your home? At least you're academically adjusting to that transition, sitting in the comfort of your home. So that's great. And also, if you deferred admission, see, this year we are in an even worse situation. So, you never know and you can't predict with what the new virus is. And that brings us to the question that you asked. So I think at UBC, and I'm sure most Canadian universities are now going to welcome students in person on various campuses. And by September 2021, it is anticipated, we can't say anything for sure, that the COVID-19 transmission will be low, and most importantly, serious infections will be uncommon, because by then a large population is going to be vaccinated, or we are in the process of getting vaccinated. But it is a virus that is unlikely to be eliminated anytime soon. So, the status quo, we don't know what it is going to be. And therefore, I think we'll have to manage it like other viruses, which is influenza and the others that we are living with. So I think on campus, preventing the spread of COVID-19 will rely on everybody doing their part, including immunization, wearing masks, practicing the hand hygiene, maintaining strong public health measures as advised by the provincial health authorities, by different universities and colleges that they are going to. And also, there is going to be a mandatory testing protocol and contact tracing protocols that universities are going to put in place. So as immunization programs roll out at different universities, so we only expect positive effects that it will build at a population level and therefore reducing transmission in communities and decreasing serious outcomes. But the core measures are going to stay in place, which I just mentioned, that you have to report. You can't not be wearing masks at public places, even if you are vaccinated. So whether in university housing or in your classes or while you're on campus. So I think these are protocols that are going to be put in place, but also all of us are evolving as through our experiences. So once we welcome them in person, see, all of us are working remotely currently, even our colleagues in Canada. So as we come back on campus and we have our students on campus, I'm sure these protocols will evolve further. We can come back to you with more confirmed guidelines and protocols. I mean, that's what I can speak for UBC.
Okay, perfect. So True, my next question is to you. Students have been having various concerns because of the uncertainties related to exam dates and results. So are there any student-friendly initiatives around admission process to address this?
Absolutely, Sakshi. I mean, so at Drop, what we have done is, I'm sure the rest of the universities are also following suit. What we've done is we have arranged a lot of one-on-one sessions with students. We've also opened up a means to book one-on-one sessions with me or the rest of my team, wherein they can book and speak to us one-on-one to answer all their queries. And on, if there's something that is bothering them, we can speak to them directly live as the way we're speaking now, and we're trying to get them answered as much as possible. We are also currently observing what is happening right now in terms of the CBSE exams cancellation. I know a lot of universities have rolled out unconditional offers based on predicted scores. I mean, I think Canada as a country has been, it's perhaps one of the first countries who's rolled out, unconditional offers based on predicted scores. I mean, most of the universities have done that. I mean, few like us, we are in the process of doing it. We don't have a clarity yet, but hopefully we should have more clarity. Yeah, but I think we've been very receptive that way. Yeah.
Okay, so Neeraj, would you like to add something to the admission process part?
Well, sure. When it comes to college national, so we are trying our best to be very flexible with the international students, looking at this year's condition. So as we are already aware that CBSE class exams has been cancelled and students are still waiting for their results. So what we have introduced our supplementary intakes for this year, and like we have come up with the November intake, so that a lot of students, those who would be getting their results by the end of maybe August or maybe July end, so they can still apply for November intake, because a lot of students are really keen to look forward to go to Canada this year itself. So yeah, so that's why we have come up with a lot of supplementary intakes for this year, even for next year. So students, if they are late for September, maybe they can apply for November intake as well. So likewise, I really believe a lot of other universities would be free, and colleges would be, will be coming up with the same plan. Maybe will be trying their best to accommodate students within this year. So yeah, the only practice that we can use to accommodate a student's request is only with this solution only, and yeah, or maybe by offering them online classes, which has already been happening there. Yeah, so that is it.
Perfect. So my next question is related to mental health, and I would like to address this to Hitanshu. So students have gone through a whirlwind of changes since 2020. What is the university doing to ensure the mental well-being of students?
See, Sakshi, this is, I think, the most important topic in today's world, because we all been affected, you could say to some extent, staying at home, or, the mental well-being is something which our institution takes. I'm sure everybody, all the institution takes it very seriously. And we got specific teams to cater to this kind of a situation where a student needs a one-on-one counseling, individual attention, in order to suppress any kind of negative feeling which they inculcate because of this pandemic situation. So this is something which our institution has taken it very seriously with regards to international students, and there's a team set up who our international students can contact for a one-on-one counseling, and they can share their feelings to them, and they can be told how their mental well-being can improve. So this is something, this is an initiative which our institution have taken, and I think it's a very important step, because as today's topic speaks, it is beyond academics. So this, I believe, is the most important topic in today's world, because this is the new normal, and we have to think out of the box in order to help our international students, so that they transition to a different country. The country's education at the moment becomes much more easier.
Exactly. So Hitanshu, you rightly said that today's topic is student experience beyond academics. And this is something I would want to gather views of everybody on the panel. So moving on, Pranav, would you like to share something on this? Uh, how are you ensuring the mental health of students is being taken care?
Right, so I'm just going to continue where Hitanshu left actually. So mental health, very important for all of us, including students and everyone here. So I'll just share again a couple of points that as an institution, I'm going to talk about very Fanshawe focused what was happening here. So for example, all the students who have started the program online from India or have planning to come to Fanshawe, our entire team here in India made sure that we connected with every student at a personal level, gave them calls, of course, asking them any academic issues that they have, plus apart from that, anything that we can do for them to make things better mentally for them. So that is one of the things. Second thing is that we have a team called Fanshawe Cares that is based at the International Center, and all the students who were traveling to Canada, again, they were counseled individually by the Fanshawe Cares team. And again, once you are there in Canada, like there are quarantine protocols and all that needs to be followed. And that again, can play with your mental status a bit, because you've traveled halfway across the world and not knowing any person and just quarantining alone. So that can hamper your mental status a bit. So the Fanshawe Cares team were on their toes to assist all our students, giving them regular calls. Apart from that, the government, like London Development Corporation, also came into place to assist all the students, or international and domestic, if they were facing any mental issues. So it was just a call, all the students were just a call away, and we made sure that we all were there for them if anything was required.
Perfect. Amazing initiative. Tanushri, what are your views on this? How is UBC taking care of students in this aspect?
I think we have a lot of online and in-person resources, but for students currently who are away from campus, to use these online and phone service resources that are available. But I would strongly recommend students that you stay informed by checking the accurate sources, and don't always, I mean, whatever you see on social media, just take it with a grain of salt, but check what's on the official sources. And some of the official sources is, of course, UBC's website, which will have continuous, and all universities, I think all of us in this panel have our COVID-19 update web pages for our students, which is updating continuously as per IRCC's guideline changes, as per universities' policy changes. So keep looking up those websites. And for those of you traveling to any university in British Columbia, so check BC Center for Disease Control. check Government of Canada's website, check the World Health Organization's website. Now, when you visit links like this, you get accurate information, but please don't check them on a day-to-day basis. You know, it's good to be like vigilant, but not over vigilant, because that will lead to more stress that it will add. And I think also look at how you can support others in your community, not just your well-being, but also the well-being of others, your peers. How can you help them? Use coping strategies, anything that may have worked for you, share it. I think the more we share, you know, it just helps you. And I have found a few very interesting articles. WHO has an article which says coping with stress during the 2019 COVID outbreak. That is a wonderful article for students to go through. The Canadian Mental Health Association has an article called Coronavirus Managing Stress and Anxiety. So use these resources because these are government resources, accurate information. Um, yeah, I think we do understand that it is very difficult, you know, but sometimes when you really feel you need help, UBC has an option which is called a support group called Empower Me. So Empower Me provides confidential counseling 24/7, and it's free for all UBC students, and they can help you with anything that you are concerned about through a video chat or a phone call or an e-counseling. There is also a health and well-being page that students should kind of see if they really, really need support and they're feeling a bit stressed and there's a lot of anxiety. Staying positive can feel very challenging during these times, and we completely agree, and we are all struggling with the same thing, you know, working through our silos. It's not easy for anyone, and we understand that for the student, but it's just good to remember that we are all in it together, and just share and support each other is all that I would suggest to students.
Perfect. Very well said. So, Prerna, my next question is to you. For a student, the journey doesn't end after attaining the degree. Students look forward to a life in Canada. So, can you elaborate on the placement system or the other programs held by McMaster to help students kickstart their careers?
Yeah, of course, that's a very important point which every student looks at. That what after, you know, what after their studies, what after their undergrad, what they are going to do. So all faculties have a dedicated, you know, department which work with the students, and based on their interests, their work style preferences and values, they help them to choose a career path that best suits their long-term and short-term goals. So career advising, career exploration sessions, cover letters and resume critiques, and then career information sessions, workshops, and also there is an online centralized system where the recruiters can post jobs and promote their organization. So this year, most of these activities were happening online. So the career support team were also, you know, working in the best possible way by providing the students the online guest lectures and, you know, the online alumni connects. In place of industry visits, organizations were doing virtual sessions. The one which is coming up is like the TD Bank is doing a session with the students where they'll be sharing insights about their operations and strategies. There are virtual job search fairs happening. There are virtual cover letter and resume writing classes happening. Digital networking sessions where they can, you know, connect with other professionals, build relationships, and promote your career brand. So they are starting, you know, right during their course, what they're based on their plans and goals, that what they're going to do after, you know, the course ends, and what kind of opportunities are available for them. So the team and the team and the faculty is working in the best possible way, and letting them know the best strategy to how to, you know, explore those opportunities.
Great. Neeraj, would you like to add something from College National's perspective on the placement side of it?
Well, sure. This is the most important question that every students actually look at, that what exactly is the future after when they are done with their, higher studies in Canada. So here, I really believe that, we at CNST have come up with really good policies here. Okay. So we have introduced new internships for all our programs, wherein we have kept those internships by the end of the program. Reason being because we don't just want our students, to just earn credits and certificates from those internships, but also we want our students to build that connection with the organization, so that after when they're done with the program, they can start working as a full-time employee in the same organization. Also, we have our job portal wherein we are encouraging students to, apply for a company after, after their program completion, so that there's a network that we hold with us, so students can register through us and they can apply for a lot of jobs. Even in fact, CNST also holds a lot of on-campus placement, events wherein we invite companies in the campus and we like we make our students sit in those placements. So yeah, so a lot of initiatives are being taken care by the college itself, not only on campus but also off campus. We've been trying to get our students placed into some some of the friendly neighborhoods where we have our contacts, so that is what we are trying to do. I mean, yeah, so students
Great.
really need to be assured here that colleges, all the institutions are really putting in their efforts to secure the future of the students, those who are going there to Canada. So yeah.
Great, great. True, would you like to add something from Brock's perspective?
I think the students start preparing for their, after college life, right from the time they join college. I mean, you enroll for a program, or you enroll yourself for a lot of, if you go for a co-op program, you go for part-time work, co-op, and then at Rock particularly, we give 100% what do you call it, some sort of experiential learning as a part of your program. So they kind of prepares you for the life after that. And at Brock, we have a dedicated career zone that looks after, like most of the universities have, that looks after your CV, your grooming, and all of it. And what we also take a lot of pride in that is that we have a 96.5% placement rate, which is I think brilliant. What the career zone does best is that they find the companies that would suit best the students' profile, and they try and get them placed in the best possible manner. Yeah.
Perfect. Tanushree, my next question is to you. Usually, universities host multiple conventions, alumni meets, field visits, industrial visits, exchange programs, internships, etc., so that students get a glimpse of the real world. What's the plan for the coming academic year?
Um,
Sorry. Tanushree, carry on. Sorry. Was it for me?
I wasn't sure who it was first. So
Yeah. So
Yeah, it was for Tanushree, but I would like to gather views from everybody. So, Tanushree, you can go first, and then Hitanshu can add on something to the same lines.
sorry. So yeah, I think most Canadian institutions, we do offer, as I said, that it is outside of the degrees that experience, and we believe that university life is more than just the degree that you're going to get. So at UBC, there are so many opportunities, and that's true for most Canadian institutions. You get to choose, you get to do a co-op, which is, I feel, is very interchangeably used as internship or co-op. But co-op is 100% paid placement, whereas an internship may or may not be a paid placement. So most Canadian universities offer you co-op. And co-op, while it is a great experience where you get to work in a real life situation, apply classroom knowledge in a real life situation, but it also tells you if that is a program that you really wish to major in. So, for example, I go for an economics co-op placement. I come back and realize, no, economics is not my cup of tea. I can drop that major and I can choose a different major. So, think of the flexibility that Canadian institutions offer. And through this co-op, you also build networks in Canada. And most often, I think all of us will agree to this, that most of our students are absorbed by the companies that they have worked during their co-ops. So if you do a good job, you will be absorbed by the company. The second thing we offer are research. A lot of students, I know IB and Cambridge students do research as a part of their curriculum. Not just that, even for Indian curriculum students, you can get involved in research at your undergrad level. So if students in the audience were to sit back and think what your CV will look like, to say that you have a published research work or you have 3 published research work when you go for that first job of yours. So we strongly encourage our students to get involved in research. At UBC, we have something which is called Engineering Without Borders. So you go to different countries and you work on government projects with your professor, and that's an interesting way of exploring and crossing the Canadian borders, and also exploring a global experience, being exposed to a global experience. And as you said, the Go Global option is an exchange program. So while you are a student in Canada and you're experiencing the Canadian student life, but you can go to any partner institution anywhere in the world and experience what it might be to be a student, maybe in Australia, in France, in US, wherever that partner institution is. I want to assure students that, when you choose to come to Canada, the Canadian government guarantees you that you will stay back in Canada for 3 more years after you've graduated successfully from a Canadian institution. So this is really a winning first step. However, it is up to them to determine what their university journey is going to be. They must explore all the options that different universities have to offer outside of your classes and build their own CV. So that is something that students need to look out for. If they don't like something, they've explored something they don't like, it's okay to drop it off and explore something new, find their own feet and play to their strength, and build a CV that is so robust at the end of 4 years or 5 years as they graduate. So that's what I would like to say. There's a lot of support, there's a lot of opportunity. They must explore it.
Well said. Hitanshu, would you like to add something to the similar lines?
I'll just would like to add a couple of things. So first of all, if a student goes out of their home country to another one, as per my opinion, one thing which is most important for them is multicultural environment, because we are in an age of globalization where all the businesses run, they're not any country focused, they're global these days, right? And studying in a multicultural environment actually makes a foundation for our a student, our international student, to go into the corporate world in when they'll go after their studies, they'll go into the corporate environment. So that's where they'll not be majorly focused on a single country. So they should know the culture, the environment which people from other countries have, in order to excel in tomorrow's world. So like as you said, as Tanushree rightly said, our students were also offered co-op during this pandemic time as well, and they were paid while doing the co-op from the comfort of their home. As TESOM has over 100 co-op partners. So this is something which was done to help the international students from all the regions. And I think multicultural environment again plays an important role in the overall development or experience of an international student. Thank you.
Well said. Pranav, my next question is to you. So in collaboration with the Canada government, have there been any financial aid policies for students?
Absolutely. To be honest, when pandemic started, I cannot recall the name where the students who had lost their jobs, even the international students who had lost their jobs, they got some kind of financial aid from the Canadian government. I think the requirement was just that they had to prove that they were working for last 6 months, and there was some kind of financial aid given to the international students by the Canadian government. So that was just the start, and Canadian government has been supportive to all the international students during the pandemic. Apart from the government, also the institutions have come up with a lot of support. I'm quite aware that there are multiple institutions that they've waived off the ancillary fees because the students would not be using the institution's premise for the uh, classes, and they would be studying from home. So there have been multiple financial aid provided by the government and by the institutions as well.
Okay, perfect. Prerna, I would like to ask you, so being in touch with students and their parents on the daily basis, what do you think is the student sentiment currently is in terms of going ahead with the study plans for this year?
So see, this year the students and parents were really burned out from the stress of the pandemic, the examination schedules, the cancellations, study permit, and so most of them have opted for online mode of learning, and a few of them are even thinking to defer it for the next year because they don't want to miss that experience of going to the campus. Though we are very hopeful that with the Government of Canada announcement that fully vaccinated travelers who are meeting all the requirements will be exempted from the uh, quarantine, the hotel accommodation, and the 8th day testing. We think that the students who have opted for online mode, that they'll be able to start in person from next semester at least, if not from the first semester. Now, speaking about the prospects who are ready to start from next fall, or they're doing their research, it seems that they have started taking active steps towards their study abroad journey, and we are very, very optimistic that going forward the campus will be again buzzing with students and life will return to normal with the new normal guidelines.
Thank you, Prerna. There is one question that one of the attendees have typed in, Gagan Manchanda, that part-time work experience gained during the study program is considered as prerequisite for PR applications, or is it not? So I would request Tanushree if you can take this question.
Sorry, I can't advise on PR. I think by law, I'm not allowed to advise on PR. So I'm not sure if anybody here can actually.
Yeah, okay. So we'll move on to the next question. What are the safety measures being followed at Vancouver campus during the heat wave? I think we will answer this question over the email, or anybody would like to take this up, please feel free. One more person is asking about the flights to Canada.
We have a Vancouver campus, but this is really recent, and I think this is just temporary. We have issued guidelines for students and our staff to remain hydrated, stay indoors. That's an advisory. Remember, there are very few on campus anyway because everybody's working remotely, and we just have support staff sanitizing the campus to welcome new students. So this is a temporary thing. So I don't think there has been like very concrete steps taken against the heat wave, so we just don't know that yet.
Yeah, exactly. There is one more prospective student, Janvi Ahuja, and she wants to ask that I'm a third year undergraduate student pursuing BSc in Life Sciences from Delhi University and 15 years of education. But masters in Canadian universities require 16 years of education. So I want to get into some research-based course like oncology or genetics. So ma'am, what can I do to fulfill the requirement and get masters there in my course of interest? Should I go for postgraduate diploma first and then apply for masters? If anybody would like to answer this question specifically, I think we will respond to this by the email.
I can probably help a bit here, Sakshi. We are aware of that a lot of degrees in India are of 3 years. At Brock, we do accept 3 years undergraduate degree, provided they are from NAC-A accredited universities. For example, Delhi University is one of them. If you are from a NAC-A accredited university, you need not go for any diploma or anything else. You can apply directly for a master's program. Regarding your field of interest, I'm not sure if we have any program that might be of interest to you, because we don't have a lot of programs at the postgraduate level, you can go to our website and see if there's a program of your interest, and you can of course get in touch with me later on. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, True. There is one more question. If there are PhD opportunities available for parents? So I think we are going to answer this over the email. Okay, moving on. I would like to know from you, Neeraj, if you can talk about the culture and lifestyle in Canada, because I'm sure most of the students would like to understand more on the similar lines.
To answer this question, I really believe, from the province where I actually belong, it's the core Canadian culture that we follow here, okay, in Quebec. And being into that state of Canada, wherein people especially come to see that core Canadian culture, so there's a lot to talk about here. But then, there's a multicultural, a lot of diversity is present here. So it's quite very, it's very flexible to students. I would really like to tell, that because of a lot of festivals are being conducted here every year, every day, all throughout the year. And moreover, the lifestyle is quite, when it comes to Canada is one of the #1 places in whole world when it comes to the lifestyle, also when it comes to the infrastructure, and also as Tanushree said, that is one of the safest country to live in, So yeah, so living in Canada is very, very, from a student's point of view, definitely it's really all in their favor, because now when we currently look at the today's situation, so everything, the students are getting all that support, not only from the government but also from the institutions, and maybe when it comes to from the time when they land into Montreal, maybe in Canada, so right away from there, so a lot of support is being provided. And lifestyle, when it comes to I really don't have much to talk about on this. Yeah. So, but yes, we all know that Canadians are very welcoming, and students really enjoy every bit of, during their every phase of life, be it when they are a student, or maybe when they are, residing here in Canada as a full-time resident, or maybe talk about any other phase of life. So yeah, everything is really good on their part. Yeah.
Actually,
Thank you.
add something here, just continuing with what Neeraj said, that Canadians are generally very polite, tolerant, and they are generally informal, all right? And historically, I think Canada has been welcoming of immigrants and international community, and the Canadian leader believes that diversity is really key to the country's prosperity. And if it may assure parents and students to know that multiculturalism, Canada was the first country to adopt multiculturalism in its constitution. So know that you're going to go to a country that is going to be hugely welcoming and where you are going to be completely safe. Another thing that you must know, that Canada values personal privacy. So most institutions have signed a pact of privacy of students. And so even parents must know that without the authorization of students coming on campus, we will not be able to pass on information, which is very unlike our fabric, the South Asian fabric. As a parent myself, I know that I want to know a lot about my child's development because I'm paying the tuition, but unfortunately all of us have signed a privacy contract and we cannot reveal that. So it's good to know that Canada respects personal privacy.
Thank you,
I would like to add something
Yeah,
here.
great.
A very famous Irish musician has said that I believe, in inverted commas, I believe the world needs more of Canada. So that says all. I think it's a mix of British, French, and American culture, but the hierarchy is not very evident here. Canadian people are very friendly, kind, and welcoming, as everybody has mentioned. And first name basis is a norm, right? They are very, very casual in your dressing and language, but being on time is highly valued in Canada. Violent crime is very, very rare, which makes it one of the safest countries, as Tanushree has already mentioned. Canada has both towns with picturesque mountains and sparkling lakes in surroundings, and well-developed cities with award-winning architectural buildings. You can try some very unforgettable experiences like hiking, snowshoeing, swimming with the polar bears, watching the northern lights, and taking a day trip to the Niagara Falls. And Canada is also ranked as the second best country in the world for overall sustainability, cultural influence, entrepreneurship, economic influence, and most important, the quality of life. So yeah, that's what I would wanted to say.
Pranav, would you like to give any suggestions, any parting words to the parents and the students who have joined us today?
Absolutely. So, first of all, thank you for joining us today, and just want to thank all the students and parents for being so patient, because we completely understand that with the current situation, it can be very frustrating that, okay, I want to study in an institution in Canada so badly, but it's just because of the current scenario, I'm unable to do so. So, I'm guessing and I'm hoping that this shall pass soon, and all our students would be able to travel to Canada soon, and would be able to continue or start their education on campus very soon. So that's what I would like to say, and wish you all the very best, and stay safe. Take vaccination if you're not.
Perfect. That's very important. Prerna, any parting words from your side? Any advice that you would like to give to the students?
Yeah, just as Pranav said, that just stay safe, get yourself vaccinated. All those have already, taken admission, they are planning for their online classes. Just be ready. Hope that things get better with time, and we are able to see you soon on campus and welcome you. And once again, the campus is filled with students, uh, and yeah, all the best. And in case you have any other queries, you can reach out to me also. I'm based out of India and in the same time zone.
Perfect. Neeraj, any parting words from your side? I think we also have a few questions which we are going to take. So, Neeraj, anything would you like to say to the students or their parents?
Okay. I would just like to thank them all for attending this session today, and I'm really privileged to be a part of this training session today. And also, just a piece of advice to everybody who's been watching us. The only thing that's gonna help us is the positivity, and we need to understand that everybody all across, is trying their every bit to, calm down the situation and to, get everything back to normal. So students really just need to focus on their part. What exactly they have to do is basically they just have to get themselves vaccinated. Okay, just prepare all your documents well in place, so that you don't lack in from your side anything. And rest, I really believe now things are really picking up in a very good way for for the international students from India also now, since because the borders are already open and now we are looking at the positive side. So the only thing is which is going to help us is staying positive and not but COVID negative. Yeah, so that's it. So thank you so much, everybody, for watching this. Thank you.
Thanks, Neeraj. Tanushree, there is one attendee who wants to ask you that I am a first year student from UBC. I will be joining this fall. Is it possible to switch over to online classes in case we register for in-person classes and are unable to get the study permit on time?
Yeah, the thing with online and in person, we are offering the hybrid model this year because we are not sure what is going to be the timeline of study permit this year, given the volume that the High Commission is experiencing. However, this is a question that is best referred to faculty advisors. They are specialists, and they would really know, whether you can switch. If places are available, you can switch, but if not, it's going to be very difficult to do that switch. So therefore, it's best to speak to faculty advisors, understand if even if you arrive on campus, you can still do those programs online, the ones that you registered for. So, so it's best to register for certain courses online so that you can continue with that, get your credits that's required in term one, and then maybe take extra work course load in term two to finish your year one at UBC. But again, as I said, I'm not a specialist about course registrations and all of that. It's best to refer it to faculty advisors.
Okay, perfect. There is one more person who's wanting to ask a question that looking into the present uncertainties of flying restrictions and visa challenges, how positive all the universities are to have in-person classes for fall 2021. I think
I can take that one. And I can just answer, I think all of us are positive in the sense that I know that India and China are experiencing the volumes, but rest of the other countries from where we receive international students probably will still be able to travel in time for start of classes. So I think all of us are really excited to welcome our international students on campus and are really gearing up for that. Because as an institution, it's wonderful for professors to interact with students face to face. The Canadian High Commission in the country has also been supportive of it because this is the first time in the history where they've declared kind of timelines where they said if you apply by May 15th, you will get a decision by August 6th. Never in the history have they really declared these kind of timelines. The VAC centers have slowly started to open and the doctors are no longer requesting for IME form to do the medicals. So I think these are all positives. And that just tells us that if you have applied by the timelines, hopefully you should be able to travel to Canada. I know that from India, direct flights have been postponed even further till August sometime this year. However, there are indirect flights. It's not always necessary that we have to take a direct flight to Toronto or Vancouver or someplace in Canada. If you want to do and attend classes in person, you can take the indirect flights. So I would strongly recommend students to, just keep yourselves updated with the IRCC's guidelines. They're constantly evolving, and just to be patient with all of us in the universities because this is the first time we are even experiencing something like this. It's not like we have the experience of having seen a couple of batches of COVID, uh, you know, situation. So just be patient with us. We are also trying to adjust given the guidelines of federal government, the government of Canada, the various visa changes rules. See, all of us made the offers unconditional, which is unprecedented. The moment IRCC declared May 15th as a deadline to apply for study permit, we knew CBSE and ISC students can't meet it. We changed it completely. So we are doing everything that we can, keeping your interest in mind. And there is no reason why we will not do it going forward.
Thank you, Tanushree. That was indeed insightful. True, would you like to share some suggestions, any advice, any parting words that you'd like to give to the parents and students?
I think my only advice would be to stay informed. Like Tanush mentioned before, that what is important for all the students is not to believe everything and anything that they hear. Please visit the relevant websites, visit the university or the college website that you're going. Stay informed. Please plan your departure, in a manner that you don't face any hassles. Please stay informed. That is, I think, the most important. You don't want to be at the airport and then you realize that you have not taken this document or that document and you're not allowed to do boarding and all that. So please do all your preparations well in advance. Book your tickets once you're sure that you have all the documents and everything in order. I think that's perhaps one thing that the students really need to keep in mind before they travel. Yeah.
Thanks, True. Hitanshu, any parting words from your side?
I just want to say, first of all, I would like to say thank you for all the attendees, to space time and listen to all of us. And secondly, the most important thing in today's world is to be safe, right? So just guys, be safe and don't lose time. This is what I would want to advise as well. Start applying because applying is the first phase. By the time you'll start your course online or face to face into campus, that is the last phase. So don't look at the last phase and not do the first one. So I would advise, don't lose time because time does not stop for anyone. And by the time you think everything would get normal, you'll probably lose an intake or two. And this is the new normal, as everybody is saying, and the normal is changing so rapidly, that you have to be updated on daily basis. So again, I would like to say thank you to everybody for attending this conference, and thank you, Sakshi, for having me over.
Thanks, Hitanshu. Tanushree, any parting words?
Yes, as Hitanshu said, stay safe, everyone. That's so important. And we are very excited to welcome you to a country that's so beautiful and so welcoming and so friendly. We are very, very excited. We really want you to see our beautiful campuses and see the beautiful country. Um, However, as all of us are saying, that all of us may not have all the answers all the time, because we are also trying to figure out, trying to get more information. And at universities, it takes time to change policies, to change regulations. So just bear with us. Know that your best interest is something that we are always keeping in mind. And we definitely look forward to meeting you on campus when you arrive. And hopefully you will enjoy your university life. I mean, very best of luck as you begin your university journey in Canada.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tanushree. Thanks everybody for joining us today. And we really hope that this was an informative webinar, a panel discussion. For any questions that we could not take on this live session, we'll be answering through the emails, and the recording of this session will also be available. Thank you, each one of you, for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you, Sakshi.
Thank you, Sakshi. Thank you.
Sakshi.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Sakshi.
everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.